Okay, the last lesson we looked at the C shape bar chord, a movable C, because it's based on a C open chord like this, which you then turn into a bar shape with your little finger, which means now I'm playing an E chord, which is no longer so scary on a ukulele. It's actually quite easy to play in this position. And I just want to play around with some stuff to do with that, really, just extending on the same shape. It's really handy to try and memorise that the second fret is going to be a D, the fourth fret is going to be an E, remembering that there's sharps and flats in between. So there's your C, up 2 is D, up 2 is E. There's no sharp and flat between E and F, so it's only the fifth fret is the F. And then you skip one again to the G. So trying to memorise those four. D is the second, E is the fourth, F is the fifth, G is the seventh. You can obviously you can keep going higher and higher, but because F and G are such common chords on a ukulele, they're good ones to kind of remember. You can play your G here. It's the same chord as your normal G, but you've got this little high octave option. And the reason for going that far up the neck and learning those chords in this position is it gives you, this shape gives you a really handy way now to slide in to the chords. You can utilise all the passing chords in between, from a G to an F. Here's your C. What was I playing there? That's an E flat to get to the F. So by memorising the chord where your bar is, D, E, F, you can start to start to play around and play lots of melodies with where your hand doesn't change shape at all. All you're doing is sliding up and down to the right position, and it's kind of teaching you the intervals that you have to remember for the different notes. Notice I'm playing this, there's a D, I'm playing the C with my little finger just to sort of show you how it all works. Sliding down. But really, I would probably play this with a normal C, and then my fingers are in position to jump back into the bar chord. There's my C, open, bar chord to get to the D. So you can mess around with different sounds. Getting used to trying to stay consistent. You notice I slip there a little bit, so it's not always easy to do. But yeah, holding your hand in that position where it's kind of rigid enough so you know you're always going to hit the right notes, but it's relaxed enough that you can slide it and move it around and still play the chords you want. So that's a really handy exercise to continue from what we were doing before. And then I'll show you a couple of variations which give you some totally new chords. This is actually really handy as well. So here's my major chord with the root, the third, the fifth, and the octave, the eighth. And you can let's change the top string. Let's move it down to this note. That's a seventh, or a dominant seventh chord. That's a flattened seventh in the scale. But you recognise that straight away as being a popular seventh chord, and because we're on the second fret, it's a D seventh. There's your D. That becomes a D seventh. There's your E. There's an E seventh. And you can figure it out. If you wanted to play an E flat, you'd go there because it's between E and D, E flat. There's an E flat 7th. It's actually the same shape all the time. It makes it really easy to kind of find those chords that are a bit less usual. And while I'm at it, if that's the 8th, that's the flattened 7th. So in between is the actual 7th. That's a D. That's a major 7th chord. Because a major 7th is the note in between your major chord and your 7th chord. So straight away you've just been given you've been given 2 more chords, and if you went one further from 8th to 7th to flattened 7th, this would be your 6th, which is just barring the whole fret. So that's a D6, E6, F6, F7th, F major 7th, and F major. So yeah, the really handy chords, which aren't very much different to what you've just been playing. You're just using the different fingers and a different spacing past the bar. Because it's exactly the same as there's your C, there's your C 7th. So all we're doing is C 7th is turning into a bar chord there. In fact, you notice sometimes I play it with my second finger because that seems to make sense, being the next finger along. But quite often I tend to play it with my third finger just out of habit, and this finger often sits on top. If I turn it around there, it's often sitting on top and pushing down a bit to help with the bar, just pushing on that knuckle. I just find that comfortable and just means I'm not squeezing so hard. I've got an extra finger to help push. So yeah, really handy. And so for instance, if I want to find an F major 7th, so I've learnt that 2nd, 3rd up to the 5th fret is my F, D, E, there's my F major, and I know that a major 7th is just one flatter than that. So for songs like Space Oddity, it starts with F major 7th and E minor. So it's really easy to find. But if I wanted to find like an E flat major 7th, it's the same shape. I know that I can find it really easily by going to, there's my D and E, so E flat is in between on the 3rd fret. That's going to be an E flat major 7th. So you can find all those chords that sometimes you had no clue of how to find them. They're just the same little variations of exactly the same shape. This is all based on your C shape, really. They're all your C chords, and you've just turned them into bar chords. So there's lots of stuff you can practice there, changing the chord with your bar finger and then just messing around just on that top string for different chords. Later on I'll show you there's even more chords you can fit around, but that's probably enough for now. So and the most common chord you're ever going to find is going to be the 7th shape. I virtually always play a D 7th like this. I usually play an E 7th on the 4th fret. Sometimes I play, this is the one you're probably used to, which is a 3-finger chord. But 3 fingers is a lot more finicky than just going straight there with 2 fingers. So that tends to be the one that I play the most. All my 7ths. And based on your major shape. Alrighty. Good luck with playing around with those. Cheers.